Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tasmia binte Hussain, currently working as an research intern at Bangladesh Institute of Peace and Security Studies. Today, we have a special guest with us, Sir Air Vice Marshal Mahmud Hussain, sir. Sir, welcome and thank you for joining us today in this important discussion on climate security. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I have a few questions for you. So, my first question is in recent years, climate change has increasingly been recognized as a security threat, worsening conflicts for over resources, displacing populations, and straining military and law enforcement capabilities. From your experience in both military and diplomatic sectors, how do you perceive the evolving role of security forces in addressing climate induced instability, and what proactive measures should be taken to integrate climate security into national defense strategies?
Thank you very much. In fact, you have raised very pertinent questions. The most important thing is that climate security is a part of a subset of your environmental security. It is one of the security sectors, but it has its impacts on other economical security, then your political security, societal security, and above all, human security. And when we talk about climate security, we also mean that it's kind of existential threat to mankind, and it is transnational. It does not follow the principles of sovereignty. So, most important about climate security is that the neighboring countries should work together. And since the militaries are the most important elements of national institutions, they can always have a coordinated joint partnership program through which one military can support the other military in case of a climate disaster in the other country instead of waiting for a response. Because by the time the response comes, there is a time gap, and naturally the casualties are more, damages are more. In order to stop that, there has to be a framework for this. And I'm a helicopter pilot, and I've been associated with a number of disaster management programs. And I participated in the cyclone uh, of 1991, cyclone which affected Bangladesh in 2000. What I have seen that military alone cannot be the only organizers, because it also needs support from the civil bureaucrats. It also needs the support of the local populace, and also the kind of funding which is needed to provide support for displaced places or say affected people. It has to be an integrated approach. And if you personally ask me if as a military man, I'm asked to develop a national security strategy, then I'll obviously put climate security as one of the most important major components of our national security program or strategy. And it has to be a whole of government approach, right?
Yes, and sir, as we know, extreme weather events like rising sea levels and resource scarcity pose significant challenges for military operations and disaster response mechanisms. How can armed forces enhance their capacity to respond to climate related disasters while maintaining operational readiness for traditional security threats? And also, could you please share your insights from your past experiences? Where military interventions were crucial in disaster management?
Thank you very much. Uh, in fact, we have to make a balance between your national security, which is given by the military, and also the support of the military in climate ridden places. Now, you have to operate your vehicles, you have to operate your instruments. Now, they all emit your carbon dioxide gas, and there has to be a continuous research program with all the militaries that whatever equipment that emits carbon dioxide, they are self sustaining. For that, you need research programs so that next generation of equipment do less emit less amount of carbon dioxide gas, and then providing support to the people who are affected by disaster or climate change. These vehicles or these toolkits are to be made available to them also, to the military as well as to the people whom they are providing this support. But above all, what we need is the training for this in order to develop the skill of the local people who are mostly affected by this, and also an awareness program related to their education. That way, we can, in fact, address this issue. And there has to be continuous recording of how much of carbon dioxide the militaries are spending or expanding in the atmosphere. And if the record is kept, then possibly we can start working on the measures which will mitigate further the reduction of carbon dioxide gas from the atmosphere. But it also needs a scientific agenda. These things are easily said, but in order to produce the requisite kind of result, there has to be a complete overhauling of our understanding in relation to the science of climate change, as well as the actions to be taken later on the basis of the results we get through investigation and scientific research.
Okay. Sir, as you have mentioned already, that climate security is a transitional challenge requiring collaborative efforts. How do you assess Bangladesh's engagement with regional and global global security frameworks in addressing climate risks? And I would also like to know what lessons can be learned from international military cooperation in climate adaptation, and how can Bangladesh strengthen its partnership in this domain?
Thank you very much. First of all, in fact, sometimes it becomes extremely difficult to get the militaries work together, but it is possible. It is possible in the sense I've always believed that if climate is shown as a scientific agenda for the South Asian countries, and there could be different procedures or techniques developed by the armed forces, say Army, Navy, and Air Force, as to how they should, what actions or how they should technically reduce the level of carbon dioxide emission. And if there is a general consensus by all the states of the region, then possibly as a whole over the region would be able to reduce the emission of carbon dioxide. This is at the regional level, and at the global level, I think we should work with the other militaries, particularly the militaries of Europe, where, or say militaries of Africa, where we have got a number of UN missions, to make them understand that their contribution is equally important. Like NATO is working on their militaries to reduce the climate emission by zero by the year 2050. But that will also require the regional effort by the militaries to take their viewpoint across to the global level. And this can be done, I think, through creating a pressure group of the regional militaries at the UN forum.
Okay. Sir, my last question to you is the security sector itself is a significant contributor to carbon emissions through military operations, energy consumption, and defense infrastructure. How can defense institutions balance their operational demands with the need for environmental sustainability? And are there any specific policy changes or technological innovations that could help armed forces to reduce their ecological footprint while ensuring national security?
Military accounts for about 5.5% of the total carbon emission. That is one of the largest. If all the militaries were joined together, then probably as a country, they would have been the fourth largest emitter of carbon dioxide. But militaries can resolve this issue in two ways, and a blend of both they need. First one is the scientific issue. I mean, there is a science involved also in it. Otherwise, I mean, you'd also you'd like to keep a balance between your operational readiness, operational effectiveness, and the reduction of carbon dioxide from your different platforms. So how to do it? That can only be done with the help of scientific research and advancement. And that requires, in fact, collaboration and partnership at higher level. Not merely at the local level, you'll be able to do so. Say, for example, we are buying this particular platform from this particular country, that particular, say, for example, platform, that particular country. So, if internationally or locally, if we can institute some kind of, say, index that we will not buy platforms from those countries which, after purchasing, will emit more carbon dioxide, as a result of which we have to pay fine. This is one thing. The second thing is that we have to also make it a moral issue, right? So the balancing will be extremely difficult, but the first place to start is the schools of the military, where climate science should form one of the most important and inevitable subject for future pursuit of knowledge.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time and valuable insights there.